Hey, it's Freitag. In this podcast, we interview business owners in New Hampshire and beyond to get their perspective on work, growth, and of course, the weekend. Join our host, Freitag marketing owner Jan Ziegler, as he interviews fascinating guests. We hope you'll enjoy this episode.
Hi, welcome to It's Freitag. I'm here today with Tim Pipp, who's the owner of Beeze Tees. Welcome. I want to ask you, you started Beeze Tees in your college dorm basement.
Yep.
How did that happen?
Well, I was a senior at Keene State. I was a graphic design major, so it kind of fell in that department. And I ran cross country and track and field. My cross country coach was a screen printer before he got into coaching. And for 4 years while I was at Keene State, he said, I wish one of my kids would get into this. And okay, show me. And I was pretty ambitious in college. I was the captain of the team. I had 3 jobs on campus. I was the executive editor of the newspaper as well as the advertising director. So I was involved in everything. And he's like, somebody's got to learn this. And 4 years go by, he never showed me how or anything. So I would say that there was kind of a boom in the screen printing world at that time. YouTube is pretty big. There was a guy, he's still around, and he teaches people how to screen print. I bought his book and I watched his videos and did a lot of reading on blogs and stuff like that. But then the second part is when I was at Keene State, I ran with this kid. He was 3 or 4 years younger than me. And as I started screen printing, he goes, oh, my dad owned a screen printing company in Manchester, New Hampshire. And I said, really? And so he introduced me to his dad, and I would talk to his dad every single night. I'd be down in my basement screen printing. I had my earpiece in, and if he didn't pick up the phone, I'd be on the phone with my grandma or my dad or my mom or whoever. But so I had some really good mentors early on. The graphic design thing for me was a great in because I already knew, design. But I am a self-taught printer. I stapled mesh onto a painting frame because I took a painting class in college, and that was my first print. And so the first print I ever did was I've got more miles in your car. It was for running. It was a joke we always heard, you probably have more miles in my car. And I wore it out to bowling that night, and I sold 10 or 15 or 20 of them and paid for all the stuff I had bought and just kind of went from there. I reached out to road races and stuff like that. And so.
But was it always a business idea, or was it just like a hobby? You were like, I want to learn how to screen print. Like it was about technique.
I think I've always been an entrepreneur, and I didn't know what that meant until maybe 10 years ago. So to answer your question, it was a hobby, but it was how can I make money?
Yeah.
And that, in my mind, that's what goes through my mind all the time it's not about the money, but it's no longer a hobby if it's making money. And, for this, it was originally a hobby. I enjoyed it. I'm a t-shirt collector still. I just went on vacation and bought 4 or 5 t-shirts, hats, or hoodies. So I still love, I like buying them and collecting them. But, I think it was definitely a hobby from the beginning, and it quickly, within weeks, became a business. I didn't have a logo. I didn't even have a name for the business. I just was doing it. So,
yeah. This is great for audio quality.
Yeah.
So, and then you were in your basement at your college dorm. How did that then grow into, what Beeze Tees is now with 20 plus employees? And it's a huge business now. How did that happen? And how fast did that happen? And was that a clear path out of college? Or did you then also think, oh, maybe I have to get a real job?
Yeah, yes to all of it. So I started in the basement of my college house. That was going into my senior year. By second semester senior year, I'd quit everything. I was a part-time student just because I had already taken enough credits, but I was full-time printing at that point. And I was doing a lot of outreach. I was doing marketing. I was doing what I knew how to do, social media stuff. And I was growing out of that pretty quickly. So I knew at some point I was going to have to leave the house and move on. But for part of the next year after I graduated, I was working out of the house. So I had it was $400 a month in rent. which I was writing off. I ended up dating a girl, we moved in together, and so that was kind of my push to get out of the house. And so I rented a warehouse space on Emerald Street, and then I moved the business there and I moved out. In the warehouse space, I moved around a couple times because I was just growing rapidly at that time. And 2014, we moved to Main Street in Keene, and that was a huge growth part of our business. We had a store in Manchester for a while, which we just closed down, but a lot of our growth happened before 2016, really.
Okay, and so when were you big enough to like hire a person to help you? And when was that, like, you know, with hiring comes risk and it's like very serious. And especially, I mean, you're in manufacturing, so you need to get big machines and it's very asset heavy, it's not marketing. Was that all like a very rational, deliberate choice, or you kind of just like slid into all that?
I slid into everything, I think. There's been times now where I'll go off on a whim and hope that it works, but early on, I hired, actually, he's my best friend, but he was my roommate, I think, at the time, and he came over and he'd iron, and then he wasn't a good worker, and so I just didn't ask him to come
But
back.
You're still friends.
We're still friends. I run with him from time to time. But then, you know, once I got into this warehouse space, I was working by myself. I was on the phone, sitting at my desk, and I'm looking over at the equipment. It's not running. And I'm like, wait a second, I need somebody to help me here. So I ended up hiring this kid. First person I ever fired. He just didn't show up one day. And then he comes back 2 weeks later and he goes, sorry, I was on a vacation. I go, you forgot to tell me though. And he goes, oh yeah, sorry. I'm like, I've replaced you at this point. But so I hired somebody that I knew's kid. And then after he was done, I ended up I'd call it my first real hire. I hired a printer. And then I'm sitting at my desk and I'm doing something else. And I'm like, wait a second, I need somebody to, you know, do this job. And so I've built jobs around me, basically. And I mean, just one screen printer, then another screen printer, then you need somebody in the washout room, then you need somebody doing design and sales and all this other stuff. And so I've just, if I'm overwhelmed, I hire. And I'm typically overwhelmed, so.
Okay, so you guys are 15 years in now
Yep.
at Beeze Tees. I think 2025 is
2025 is 15 years.
What, like where you're at now? I mean, you know, you had the store in Manchester, you closed it, you still have your store on Main Street. What's next? Like, what are you working on right now? I know you have, like, we have the privilege of working with you, and so I know about DTF New England, which is your B2B kind of like child, and you have with Live Free, a clothing brand. What's in store for the next 5 years or 15?
Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I saw a vision of what I've got now, and I've got ideas of what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm currently talking to some businesses about potentially buying them. So I think that's going to be a big part of our future growth. We're going to need a bigger warehouse. We have 8,000 square feet that's just jam-packed. And when we're busy, it's too chaotic. And we can't get any more equipment in there. So I'd say in the next 2 years, we'll probably do a new warehouse. I'd like to buy a business this year. I think that's kind of a goal. It's just got to be the right fit. And then, you know, so I think growth through acquisition is probably going to be a big part of it. DTF New England will be I think we'll grow that to be a decent size. Then Live Free Clothing. I mean, they're all print businesses. They all kind of go with what we're already doing. That's what I like about them is, you know, they're not new ideas. They're just in different markets. So we're capturing people that aren't using Beeze Tees. So because
at the end you use like your fulfillment engine that you already have for Beeze Tees, right? Like, I mean, the B2B stuff in DTF, it rolls off of the same printers as your own stuff.
Right.
Live Free, same thing. Like you make the clothes that you make already just for a brand now that's your own instead of somebody else's.
Right, and we've closed the gap on our market. So we have every single person in the world could use us. And before, if you were my competitor in the printing business, screen printing, embroidery, whatever, we didn't talk. And now I want to talk to you the most. And that's what I kind of like about it is, and same with the Live Free Clothing, you know, a lot of people come in, they want custom. They don't really want something that was, you know, there's people that want pre-made, there's some people that want custom. And so we're kind of trying to hit all avenues of print. Yeah.
And so like acquisition, is that a lot of screen printers retiring? Like a lot of people going out of business because of age and like succession is hard. And I mean, they're all individually not huge businesses, right? Like
Right.
a lot of small town, medium-sized town businesses.
Yeah, there's a lot that are my size or smaller, and what you said is right. I mean, a lot of people have been doing this for 30 to 50 years, and they never really thought about getting out of it. They should have gotten out of it before COVID, but they didn't, and they got stuck into it for another 5 years. Everybody that I'm talking to is in that situation where they want to retire and they want to go to a good home, I think is number one, and they want the same values that they have, and that's what I want in a business too. Is I want the same structure and values that I have. You know, it's about our customers. It's not just about money and.
Yeah. So for Beeze Tees, is the big competitor, you know, like these nationwide online Vistaprint, custom ink, these big screen printers that, you know, you order online, you don't talk to a human, you just self-serve yourself through the products. Is that like the competition really?
Yeah, there's a lot of local competition in every town has. Keene has, I don't know, 4 or 5 that do it, or 10. You know, when I came in, there were 12 places that offered screen printing. That's probably about the same now. I just don't know anymore. And there's a lot of the people at home that can do it too. But yeah, the online companies are the ones that are being seen. They're the ones that, you know, you go on Facebook, you see an ad, you click on it, now you're buying t-shirts. But where we're different than them is we have a store that you can walk in and meet our staff. You can talk about color, you can talk about in person. You're not stuck doing it yourself at home.
Yeah.
And you get to see it before you buy it.
Okay. And so do you have an end goal like that you already know? Or you just at the point where you're like, this is fun, I enjoy what I'm doing, so I just keep doing it? Because so one side hustle that we have to talk about is your 3D printing brand. Also printing, but 3D toys.
Yeah.
Like, and you just do that for fun. And then you like, because I went to German Christmas market, I think in Swansea, and there were you selling your 3D printed toys before Christmas.
People are so confused.
Yeah.
When they see me.
Yeah, but like, you just like building businesses.
Yeah.
Like, that's your hobby.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm just the same way.
No, and honestly, the 3D printing is just a lot of fun. And I know enough about printing to know how it all works. I mean, my machine broke yesterday and I shoved an Allen wrench into it and fixed it temporarily. But there's something fun about it. And I could sit there and print all day and I'd have a room full of prints, or I could sell it, create a demand, get a little bit of money out of it, and have fun. Yeah. And so that's what that is for me. I'm printing right now. I have no events booked for the year. I've got no reason to be printing, but I printed a frog and a dragon yesterday or whatever. And it's a lot of fun to try new things, and I get to be a little creative there, and nobody's telling me what to do, and nobody's waiting on me, and if it breaks, and I fix it. So I think a lot of it for me is getting out of my own world. But you asked what my plan here is. I always thought 10 million in sales. I had that number. I don't know if I'm going to stick to that. You know, we're not close to that, but we're closer than we were. And I think that's a successful business. You don't get to 10 million with a snap of a finger. So I think that's it. I just don't know what that means. You know, I've got a 7 or 6-year-old daughter. I don't want to push her into a direction. You know, I wasn't pushed into a direction, and I know a lot of businesses are 2nd, 3rd generations, and they're forced to, and that's not what I want. But if in 15 years from now she goes, Dad, you know what? I want to be a part of this. I would, I'd be okay with that. I think I want to sell it so I can retire.
Yeah. But I think it's not like, I mean, I know you have that big number, but it's not about the money, right? It's not like, I mean, you have what you need. Like, there's enough. And beyond that, like, it's for the fun and the entertainment.
Yeah.
And the challenge. I mean, I feel the same way. It's like, I'm fine now, I could stop, but like, why would I?
Yeah, but also, with business, there's a level you have to be at. If I were doing $1 million in sales, we would actually be, we would be profitable, and we'd slowly decline. I wouldn't need nearly as many employees. If one of my employees calls out, then I don't have anybody to cover that. So there's a certain level that in my business, and I'm sure yours too, that you've got to be at to survive.
Yeah.
And for me, it's over 2 million.
Yeah.
You know, and I think once I get to that 10, that's when it'll be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. It's fun now because I'm working to get there. But at 10 million, I'm not going to be making much more money. It's just going to be a smooth driving machine.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the things that I've done, a lot of the decisions, a lot of the growth has been out of necessity than just out of, I mean, I could have stopped years ago and just done it myself, but that's not, I like employing too.
Yeah. I feel the exact same way, because in marketing, if we're at a size where we can afford to have one graphic designer, who's going to design when they call out?
Right.
Like, and so you're like, well, now I need to be at, like, I almost need to be at the size where I can afford 2 of everything, so that somebody can go on vacation and we're not screwed. And then you realize, well, that's actually twice the work is a lot. So you really need 3 of everything.
Right.
So like the load is shared. And then you look at the size you have to be at to make that happen. You're like, oh no, I actually need a decent sized company.
Right. And then you need sales to back it up.
Yeah.
So at $1 million, you got 10 employees and half of them don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
And then at 2 million, you have 10 employees and they're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And we have a screen printer he's been with me for over 10 years, and he's not quitting, but he's going on an Appalachian Trail journey for 5 months. And he said, don't wait for me. And which I completely appreciate. He's been a great employee. But we only have 2 printers, so we have to replace him. And we've had 3 printers. We have 2 now. Ideally 3, because what if one of them calls out?
Yeah.
And what if one of them quits or doesn't work out or whatever? But these 2 have worked really well for the last few years. But yeah, if I had 3, I wouldn't. I'm a little stressed, but if I had 3, I wouldn't be as stressed.
Yeah. No, it's very true, and it's very hard. I think, I don't know. Freitag's a very young company, but like, it is it's this constant balance of like sales plus team, and like because for us it's also like you're very asset heavy, but like it's all labor.
Yeah.
And so like it's like, where is the right balance?
Right.
Like where are we happy? Like in every sense of way of like the services we can offer, like the depth on the bench that we have, but then also like where we don't have to sell like crazy and are in huge pressure to make more sales. But yeah, so I want to touch base on like this concept of because I think about this a lot. It's like entrepreneurship here in the region. Because when I moved here, right, like I founded Freitag because I didn't feel like there was a good marketing job to be had around here.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to start my own thing. I feel like there's so much opportunity around here, and it's completely underrated of what's possible here, because in so many industries, there's so much opportunity. These people that are here are not doing a good job, or are outdated, or like I think there's so much more room for simple, like pretty simple, straightforward business ideas.
Yeah.
And I think you feel the same way.
I do. Yes.
How can we tell that to more people? Like,
I came in as a 21, 22-year-old entrepreneur, again, not knowing what that meant. It's like a disease, oh, you're an entrepreneur, you need medicine. Mm-hmm. And I always kind of felt that way, that I got something going on with me. I'm not sure what it is, but I can't think straight. I think there's a lot of people out there, but you know what? People like security. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people have jobs, should own their own businesses. Yeah. And I've said it to so many people over the years. Nike says it the best, just do it. Yeah. Just go out and start as a hobby. You don't need a name of your business. I think a lot of people get caught up in the name and what phone number should we use and like, what does our website look like? You don't need a website. You're selling lemonade by the side of the road. You don't need a website or a name. You just need a sign, and I think a lot of it is just teaching people that it's not as hard as we make it look.
Yeah,
maybe?
I think it's honestly like, every day gets easier than ever. Like, you can learn everything you need to know about the world on YouTube. You can, now, I don't know, ChatGPT, you can ChatGPT literally whatever you need. And I think so many people get hung up on being influencers and everything being online. But I think in a small town brick and mortar, home services, I don't know, pressure washing is my favorite topic. But it's so simple. It's so simple and really not difficult to do at all. And
there needs to be a need. Yeah. There has to be a need. You can't start a business and there's no need. You need potential customers and clients and staff even maybe one day, but pressure washing, there's probably a need for it. And right. I think that's where people should start if they're thinking about a business, is figure out if there's a need. I mean, we have a lot of pizza places and coffee shops on Main Street. It's always talked about. I don't know that we need another one. Yeah. But what other opportunities are there? There's other food opportunities that we don't have in Keene at all. I would love a arcade. Yeah. My wife and I talk about it all the time about starting one. My bandwidth is completely maxed out. Yeah. So right now. So, me starting an arcade doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but if somebody's got the love for arcades and has hospitality and has done a restaurant or a bar or something like that, I think it'd be a great business for Keene. Yeah. And those are the things that I'm always trying to solve a problem. I'm not trying to start it, a solution, Yeah. And I think, the 3D printing thing was not a problem. There's plenty of 3D printers out there. That was more of just a fun hobby. But I do feel like, in order to have a successful business, you have to determine the need for it too.
But the funny thing of the 3D printing is there is no need for another 3D printer to sell their stuff on Etsy, on Amazon.
No.
But there's nobody else selling 3D printed stuff in Swansea at the Christmas market.
At that one, no.
Yeah, or at any other of the, it's the local part. There's nobody needed another marketing agency in the world because there's plenty of them in the world. But Keene seemed to have needed one. And I think that's what a lot of people, they look at, they're like, oh, there's so much competition in the world, but it's you can be hyper local and actually build a decent size, at least side hustle off of 3D printing toys and selling them online.
It's already taken.
It's nothing. But that's what I always come back to. Anyways, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about what a good weekend looks like. You have a daughter?
Yeah, she's 6, but yes.
6, yeah. What do you guys do for a weekend?
Ideally, for me, a weekend is just doing nothing. I mean that. I love, my favorite pastime is watching TV. I just love sitting and watching TV, being on my phone and eating. So for me, what we did this last weekend, we went on a cruise, and it's chaotic. I mean, you're sitting, you're lounging, it's relaxing, I guess. But in the end, you're traveling with a 6-year-old and you're, making sure she's holding your hand all the time. And so we got home, I just wanted to relax. And so this weekend, we sat on the couch and I took a shower and just put a blanket on and did a little work. But, that to me is fun. But truthfully, when it's nice out, we like to go hiking and paddleboarding and fishing. And we like to be outside. But I'm not a winter person.
I like reading, but when I read business books and then I have business ideas and I need to write them down and research them. It doesn't work. If I don't work, then I consume businessy things.
Right.
So it's actually TV is I don't know. I think I would be too addicted to video games, so I'm not letting myself get tempted.
I just, that doesn't interest me, and it takes too much. I think they're calling it ADD now, where you can't, or ADHD, where everybody's like ADD or ADHD, and I have to be doing something while I'm watching TV. Yeah. So I 3D print. I print one of those fidget things. So I'll sit there. That actually keeps me away from my phone. Yeah. I'm sitting there fidgeting. But I like being on my phone because then I'm answering emails and it takes me 2 seconds. I'm not doing any earth-shattering work here. I'm saying yes to you on whatever you ask me, and but I am also an outdoors person. I typically like working on my property. It's just
in a way.
The last few years, I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of tired of this.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Any favorite places, when it is sunny and warm outside? Do you have any a favorite spot that you like to go to
in Keene
or around?
I started fishing a few years ago. I feel like that's pretty much where I want to be. Is we paddleboard and I'll fish off of that. So I'd say if I can choose today with nice weather where I want to be, I think that's where I'd want to be is fishing.
Paddleboard.
Yeah.
Where do you go with paddleboard?
Every body of water.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we've hit pretty much everything around here. So.
Yeah, paddleboard it is. One of my Swafford Lake with the paddleboards, we live in Westmoreland, is my favorite summer activity.
Yeah.
Hands down. It's amazing. Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If people need a t-shirt or a 3D printed toy, they can find you on Main Street.
Yes.
And you guys are open pretty much most days.
Yep. Yeah. Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, 10 to 5 on Saturdays.
Awesome. Thank you.
Well, that was a great conversation. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please give us a nice review wherever you're listening to this. It really means the world. And our episodes drop every Friday, so stay tuned for more insightful chats from It's Freitag.